Welcome back to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin, and in today's video, we are going to look at essay writing in the Junior School Certificate Examination English, also known as the Basic Education Certificate Examination. Our focus is on having a revision of the Junior School Certificate Essay questions from 2018 to 2021. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video goes live on the channel, you will be notified instantly. Let's dive into the lesson right away. Now, the first thing is for you to know the essay structure. Every essay has a definite structure, and there are three main sections that are common to every type of essay. We are going to look at them, and these sections are: section 1, the introduction. The introduction is usually made up of three main parts, or subparts, if you like. The general statement. When you start an essay, you have a title or a topic, and the first sentence should at least make a general comment on that major topic, on that main topic. For example, if your essay is on, the rising incidence of road accidents, you have to say something about it. If your essay is on exam malpractices, you have to make a general statement on that social problem. Now, the thesis statement is, a sentence that shows exactly what you want to say about this topic. A thesis is this particular angle from which you want to look at a particular topic or problem. All right. For example, if you are writing about road accidents, some people may want to talk about the causes of road accidents. Someone may decide to talk about the consequences, the problems that road accidents create. Some people might devote their essays just to talk about how to solve the problem. So someone may want to talk about the causes and the solution. So you have to use a particular sentence, which is your thesis, to actually show the reader what you want to say about this topic. All right. Then the next thing is an outline of the main points, which we call enumeration. You can give a number of points that you consider necessary to write about. All right. Now, the body of the essay is section 2, and the body of the essay should contain a number of paragraphs. The body of every essay is usually organized into at least 3 paragraphs, all right? 2 or 3 paragraphs, depending on what you are asked to do in that exam question, all right? In the Junior School Certificate Examination or the Senior School Certificate Examination, in most cases, you are asked to discuss at least 3 points, on a given topic. And if you are to discuss at least 3 points, then in the body of your essay should contain 3 paragraphs. Because the principle is that each paragraph should discuss only one main point or one main idea. All right. And this main idea, look at paragraph 1. You begin with a topic sentence. All right. That is the topic sentence. Then all other sentences will be the supporting sentences. For example, if you are writing, about the causes of road accidents in your country, and in paragraph 1, you want to talk about bad roads as one of the causes of road accident, you might start that paragraph by saying most of the roads in our country are bad. That is your topic sentence. Then other sentences will only support that sentence, showing you know, the evidence, giving evidence to back up what you have mentioned. You have said that most of the roads in the country are bad. Why are they bad? You now talk about the potholes you find on the roads, how the roads are not wide enough, how some roads don't have road signs and all that, all right? And some roads are flooded because there are no drainage systems planned along with the road. So, you know, that is exactly how to write. And when the same thing in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, all right? So that is section 2, the body of your essay. The first section is the introduction. That's the first paragraph. Then the body of your essay begins with paragraph 1 and then continues. No, the body of your essay, of course, you know, this is really not something that is quite self-explanatory. Paragraph 1 is actually your introductory paragraph. The body of the essay starts with paragraph 2, all right? So I will actually want to give some correction here. Let me do it this way, okay? Now, the body of the essay starts with paragraph 2, then the next should be paragraph 3, and then the next should be paragraph 4, okay? That's the way it is. Then this introduction normally is paragraph 1. That is how the structure of every essay is actually made. So this is paragraph 1. This is paragraph 1, okay? So that's the way it is, okay? And then after the body of the essay, so the introductory paragraph is paragraph 1. The body of the essay begins in paragraph 2 and continues in paragraph 3 and probably ends in paragraph 4. Then your conclusion can be paragraph 5, for example, as the case may be. All right, so here you have paragraph 5. Okay, so that's the way it should be. And then your conclusion should, you know, restate or reemphasize your thesis. All right, so and then give a summary of the main points and make a final comment. For example, if you are writing on road accident, you summarize your points and then you can make a call to action. You can call on the government to repair the roads and probably call on government agencies to, you know, make sure they check the excesses of reckless drivers on our highways and so on and so forth. All right, so that is what you do in the conclusion, and this is exactly what you ought to know. And I want you to understand that when you write an essay, then you should have this definite structure in mind. With this said, we are now going to review the essay writing questions in the Junior School Certificate Examination from 2018 to 2021, and we are going to start with 2021. We pick an essay question and we treat it, all right? So let's get started right away. We want to take a question from the Lagos State Basic Education Certificate Examination of 2018. English Studies Theory, Section A, Essay. And we are going to solve question 1A, which is as follows. Write a letter to your friend who is living in another state in Nigeria on 3 things that you think are the possible causes of student kidnapping. All right. Now, you are asked to write a letter to your friend, and that is a friendly letter. A friendly letter is an informal letter. So let's look at the features of informal letter. The first feature of an informal letter is the writer's address, and this is followed by the date. The second one is the salutation or the opening greeting, such as dear father, dear mother, dear John, dear sister, dear uncle. Now take note of the fact that it is not advisable for you to write dear friend. If you are writing a letter to your friend, you can address him by his or her first name. You can write dear Mark, or dear Rose, or dear Jane, or dear John, anyone. Use your friend's first name instead of writing dear friend. All right. Now, the third one is the content of the letter. That is what comes next. And the content of the letter is made up of three parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. After that, you have the subscription or closing greeting, such as yours sincerely. The last feature is the writer's name, which is usually the writer's first name only, followed by a full stop. So let's look at the question, and then let's analyze the question and identify the requirement. When you go into any English exam hall and you are given an essay question to solve, you need to analyze it and then identify the requirements. You need to find out what the examiner wants you to do, so that you don't do the wrong thing. In any exam, when you do the right thing, you get the right results. On the other hand, if you do the wrong things, you get the wrong results. Now, the question once again is as follows. Write a letter to your friend who is living in another state in Nigeria on three things that you think are the possible causes of student kidnapping. Now, what are you required to write? Number one, you are required to write a letter, not a story, not an article, not a speech. Now, when you know you are going to write a letter, then of course, you know you have to follow those features of a letter that we have discussed. And again, you discover that the letter you are asked to write is not a formal letter, it's not a semi-formal letter, it is an informal letter. So you will ensure that you follow the features of an informal letter in writing this letter. That's first thing you need to analyze. You need to identify the requirement. The second thing is, to whom are you asked to write this letter? To your friend who is living in another state. All right. This also shows that your address should end with your state, because you are writing a letter to someone who is within the country. All right. So you are not going to include your country name, because since your friend lives in another state, your friend is conversant with your country and other states in your country. Now, of course, then you have already identified that you are writing a letter to your friend, and this shows that you have to use informal language. Your language is going to be conversational, all right? Number three, for what purpose? Now, this is a letter you are asked to write to your friend, and the purpose is to discuss three things you think are the possible causes of student kidnapping. So at this juncture, you have to draw an outline. Once you have analyzed the question, you have discovered the purpose of the question, what you are asked to write. You are asked to write three possible causes of student kidnapping. So at this juncture, you can draw an outline, all right? You can draw an outline at this juncture, because drawing an outline will help you. What an outline does is that it enables you to jot down those points, all right? To jot down those points. So let's create our outline. Number one, what do you think are the courses? All right. Okay, so now we have attempted to jot down 3 points. Number one is faulty educational system. We are going to explain how this contributes to the problem of student kidnapping. All right. Faulty educational system. Number two, unemployment. Number three, ill-equipped security. Well, let's try to let's try to get this right. Number one, faulty educational system. Two, unemployment. And number three, ill-equipped security. Well, okay, so let's leave it at that. I hope you are able to actually grab what an outline is all about. It's just jotting down the points you are going to use in your discussion in writing the letter, all right? So that's exactly what it is. Now back to our analysis. We have already identified the purpose of the letter, and then we have drawn an outline. We have identified 3 points, 3 things that we are going to discuss as possible causes of student kidnapping. All right, so we have talked about the language. Your language is going to be conversational because this is an informal letter. And then you make sure you cross-check your work after you have written to eliminate any mechanical errors. Okay? So let's now move forward. Okay? Now, this is a sample of a letter. I just want to show you how you can write the letter. All right. So here we start with the first thing among the features of an informal letter. You know, we are using a block style here, but since you are writing to a friend of yours, there's nothing wrong if you decide to use in an indented style. An indented style is Ojo High School. Then when you come here, Ojo, okay. Lagos. So you can see this is an indented style. When you look at this, then you can see here is slanted, is slanting here. So this is the indented style. There's nothing wrong if you decide to use the indented style, okay? But here we decided to use the block style. The block style is on a vertical line, okay? And then you take notes. Ojo High School, you put a comma, Ojo, comma, Lagos State, full stop, because this brings your address to an end. So you put a full stop. Then take note that each major item occupies a different line. And then each keyword begins with a capital letter. Ojo, capital letter O. High, capital letter H. School, capital letter S. Another Ojo here on a different line, capital letter L. Lagos, capital letter L. State, capital letter S. Now that we are through with that, the next is the address, 17th December 2021. After December, we have a comma. After 2021, we have a full stop. All right. Then the next thing that follows is the salutation. Dear Mike, how are you doing? You know, after the salutation comes our introductory paragraph. The first paragraph is meant for introduction. And there are two ways of introducing a personal letter or an informal or friendly letter. You can begin by inquiring about the welfare of your addressee, the person you are writing to, you know, exchanging pleasantries. But you can as well reserve this exchange of pleasantries or inquiries about the welfare of the receiver. You can leave it till the end of the letter. If you want to go straight and treat the purpose of the letter, then you can extend greetings at the end of the letter. But because this is a friendly letter, there's nothing wrong with starting by making inquiries. So this is the method we have adopted here. Now, let me read that first paragraph. Dear Mike, how are you doing? Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the increasing incidence of student kidnapping in our country. When I heard the news of the kidnapping of 150 students from a school in your state, I remember the serious concerns you expressed about the problem during our last chat on WhatsApp. So I decided that I should certainly write to you on 3 things I think are the possible causes of student kidnapping. Now, you can see what we have done here. We have given a background to this letter, why this letter became necessary. You see, this is what your introductory paragraph should do. in any composition you write, whether it is a letter writing or composition writing, article writing, speech writing. Use the first paragraph to introduce the topic and show why it is important for you to write what you have decided to write. All right, so that is what we have done here. All right, we have explained the background to this letter. Let me take this paragraph once again. How are you doing? Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the increasing incidence of student kidnapping in our country. When I heard the news of the kidnapping of 150 students from a school in your state, I remember the serious concerns you expressed about the problem during our last chat on WhatsApp. So I decided that I should certainly write to you on 3 things I think are the possible causes of student kidnapping. So from here, you can see exactly what your introductory paragraph should look like. Now, let's go to paragraph 2, and that is where the body of our letter starts. It is within the body of your letter you discuss these things one by one and in detail. All right, so we have jotted 3 points in our outline. We want to begin with the first of them. So paragraph 2 states, to start with, we have a faulty educational system which promotes theories rather than practical skills. You see, you are saying that this is one of the possible causes, but then you have to explain this for the reader to understand. You don't just mention a faulty educational system without explaining how it becomes a real cause of student kidnapping. After spending 6 years in the primary school, 6 years in the secondary school, and 4 or more years in the university, the average youth graduates without any practical skill and therefore has no idea what to do to earn a living for himself. This explains why most of the youths resort to kidnapping and other criminal activities in their attempt to survive by all means. You are saying that the practical skills that one needs to earn a living after school are not taught, at school. And so the youth graduates and doesn't have any skill, that will help him or her to earn a living. So this makes it easier. This makes it just something that it makes it easy for them to resort to criminal activities. Okay? So let's go to the next one. Okay? So you can see in the next paragraph, we write, moreover, the problem of youth unemployment is so bad that even the most qualified and skilled end up without getting a job. You have said that most of them, of the youth, graduate without a skill. But you are saying that even those who acquire skill don't even have any job that, they can secure. So even after acquiring a skill, they are still jobless. Now, where job vacancies exist at all, it's usually reserved for people who are highly connected. Is missing here. For people who are highly connected. Yes, and those who are willing to bribe the people in authority with huge sums of money. All right. It is obvious that those who have turned student kidnapping into a profession are the unemployed youths. In their bid to get money to take care of their needs, they go to any length to kidnap innocent students, torture them, and threaten to kill them unless their parents and relatives pay the ransom they stipulate. So you have discussed these three main points. No, we have discussed two. So let's discuss the third one. To worsen the situation, our security forces are not adequately equipped for the task of combating student kidnapping and other criminal activities. The security agents are also poorly paid. Thus, they often compromise themselves and accept bribes. Some of them connive with the kidnappers and bandits to carry out high-level kidnap operations. Right? So you are stating another factor that is a possible cause of student kidnapping. Now, it is now left for us to conclude the letter, and we can do that by suggesting some solutions. All right. So we write here, in conclusion, I think it's left for individuals to find the best way to avoid being kidnapped instead of relying on the security forces that are either overwhelmed or compromised. So you can see here that we are saying that the security forces are ill-equipped, they are not adequately equipped to deal with the situation, and in most cases, they are compromised because they are poorly paid, and so they can accept bribe, they can even connive with the kidnappers. All right? Then we go further. I support the action of parents who are withdrawing their children from schools in places where student kidnapping has become a frequent occurrence. On our own part, let's remember those personal security measures we discussed in our recent chat on WhatsApp and make sure we observe them whenever we are at school. So these are the pieces of advice you have given, you know. Then the next paragraph is simply to extend greetings. Give my warm regards to your friends over there. So that's it. You may add, take care of yourself if you like. So now comes the subscription or closing greeting, and we have chosen yours sincerely,
2019
comma,
English Studies Theory.
So take note of
section
how
A, which is
the subscription is
part.
written.
And
I
we are
hope
taking
you
question
have learned
1B, which
the steps
states as follows. Write a composition on the topic bullying in schools. Now let's get into, first of all, looking at parts of the essay. You know, a composition is a piece of writing that discusses one major topic in several paragraphs, and we want to know how to do this. First, let's look at the parts of the essay or the parts of the composition. Now, the first part is the introduction. Now, the introduction is where you introduce the topic for discussion. And then how do you do that? You come with what we call a hook. The hook is the first sentence which draws the reader's attention. It must be something that is relevant to the topic, you know, something that tells the reader that it is a serious issue being discussed here, all right? So the hook is meant to draw the attention of the reader and show the reader that it is really an important topic that he or she should pay attention to. Then the thesis is exactly your main idea about the topic, what you want to say about the topic. You know, bullying in school is a broad topic, you know. You can talk about the effects, you can talk about the causes or factors responsible for bullying. You can talk about the solution. You can approach it from different angles. So you must narrow it to your own perspective. There must be an angle from which you want to talk about bullying in schools. And that angle from which you want to discuss the topic is your thesis. Your thesis is your central argument, your viewpoint, your opinion, all right? That is your thesis statement. Then you have the enumeration, which is optional. In this case, you mention the major things you are going to discuss in the body section of your composition. Then the second part of the composition or essay is the body section, you know, and this is where you discuss the key points, all right? This is where you discuss the key points. And in most cases, you discuss the causes, the effects, the possible solutions, all right? Then in the third part, which is the conclusion, is where you summarize the key points, all right? You summarize the key points, and then you re-emphasize the thesis, and you make a clear call to action. You call on the relevant authorities to do something about the social problem, all right? So these are the various parts of the essay at a glance. Then one other thing I want to show you before we go into solving this particular question is what I call the 4 steps in writing an essay or a composition. Now, the first one is choosing the topic. In this case, we are already given a topic, so we don't need to choose. We have chosen, although if you look at the junior WAEC past question, especially if you look at that 2019, you will see that there are two essay questions. You are given 2 essay questions. You are given 2 essay questions. Let me read the 2 essay questions. You will find that on page what? Well, yes, on page 3 of the 2019 past question compilation guide. So when you look at the theory section A, which is essay, the instruction is answer only one question from this section. Your answer should not be less than 200 words. It could be more, all right? Then 1A is you performed poorly in your last school examination. Write a letter to your father giving 2 reasons you failed and promising that you will perform better in your next examination. This is letter writing. And I remember that in a recent video, I treated a letter writing question. So today we want to pick a question on composition. Which is purely discussing a topic rather than letter writing. So that is B, 1B. Write a composition on the topic bullying in schools, all right? Bullying in schools. So we have chosen that topic. So choosing the topic is still a valid point because you need to choose at least from the 2 alternative essay questions there. So once you have, but how do you choose the topic? You must know what you are talking about. Otherwise, your essay will be big words without substance. You must choose a topic you know something about. If you are already given an essay topic in an exam like this one, make sure you understand exactly what the examiner wants you to write on the topic, which is why we are actually treating this topic. So you come to know exactly how to discuss a topic like this whenever you come across it in your English exams. Now, the second step in writing a meaningful essay or composition is brainstorming and creating an outline. To brainstorm is to think about the topic in order to generate ideas for your essay. You must plan an essay before you write it. If you fail to plan it, then you have planned to fail it. All right? Now, what do? Jot down the ideas on a sheet of paper just as they naturally flow into your mind. Go over the points and pick only the ones you consider most relevant to the topic. Then organize your main ideas and their supporting points into an outline, dividing them into the three main parts of your essay: introduction, body, and conclusion. That's what you need to do at the planning stage. And it's important you always take a little time and then you plan the essay so that when you start writing, you won't go blank at a point and you forget the point you are going to write next. At a point, you may feel like canceling what you have written and starting afresh. And at that point, you become helpless. So planning is paramount. Now, the third step is writing the essay. In this case, you need to ensure that you observe the three parts. In fact, there are four parts when you include the title. The title should be written in capital letters. I will show you how to write it when we solve the actual question. I'm just showing you the prototype here, a template that I have made. All right. Then the introduction, which includes the hook, the thesis, and the enumeration. Then the body of the essay, comprising of at least 3 paragraphs. Then you have the conclusion. The fourth step is to proofread the essay. And this means you have to cross-check your essay and correct any errors in it so you won't lose marks. Now, in most English exams, you lose half a mark for every error you commit, whether it's a grammatical error, a spelling error, error on capitalization, punctuation, or omission. So you cross-check, you revise, all right? You proofread, if you like, to ensure that you correct the mistakes, or the mistakes, yes, so that your essay will be error-free. Now, having said this, let's now head right away to the writing the question, solving the question. Let's look at it again. All right. Write a composition on the topic bullying in schools. So let's look at how we do it. Now, the first thing you do here is to start with, you start with the title. Of course, you don't need to underline the title. There are 2 ways of doing it. If you write it with a combination of capital and small letters, then you can underline. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. Well, let me try and put it here. I just want to show something to you. Excuse me. Bullying in schools. Now, once you have used this method, what do? You underline. You underline it. That's one way of writing your title. But you have some rules to observe here. You can see that we started bullying with capital letter B. Yes, for 2 reasons. Number one, when it is the first word in a title and you are using this method, you must write the first letter in that first word in capital. So capital letter B in bullying. You can see that in is written in small letters because it's a lesser word. Now, English words can be divided into 2: content words and function words. Now, content words are words that carry meaning, such as nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives. These are words that convey meanings. You know, when we talk of bullying, you know that bullying has meaning on its own. In is a word that doesn't carry meaning. We just use it to join bullying and schools together. In is a preposition, and words like prepositions, conjunctions, articles, they are minor or lesser words. In fact, in extreme cases, they are called empty words, function words, or grammatical words. We only use them to join those content words that carry meanings together. So the rule is that in a title, you don't capitalize the lesser words. You capitalize the content words. And so that is why school begins with capital letter S, bullying begins with capital letter B, also because it is the first word in the sentence, in the title. All right, so, but I encourage using the writing the title in capital letters, and look at it. It is capitalized, it is centralized here. Always ensure that your title is on the top center of your answer sheet. All right, that is very, very important. Now, then you can see again here, there is something we must amend here, because this needs to start. Yes, it needs to start with okay, so this has been adjusted. So you can see this is the first paragraph, and so you must leave a space. This is what we call indentation. All the paragraphs must be on the same on the same level. They will start from the same point. All right, on your answer sheet. Now, before you write, you ought to brainstorm. Think about bullying in schools. What are you going to say? All right. What do you want to discuss? Do you want to talk about the causes and then you profile solutions, or do you want to concentrate on the effects? You know, that you choose what you are going to discuss, and then you create an outline as discussed in our previous lesson. You know that drawing an outline means listing or jotting down the main ideas you want to discuss. All right. Okay, so now, having said that, let me now show you how to write this type of composition. Now, this is where our introduction is, the first paragraph. Bullying is one of the major problems in many schools. You see, we are using the direct method here. Our hook is simple. We are just stating it simply and directly the way it is. We want to call it a major problem. And if something is a major problem in schools and you are interested in schools, then it will be of interest to you. So that can be a simple hook. Bullying is one of the major problems in many schools. Bullies tend to take pleasure in hurting other people and putting them under stress. The problem is so severe in some schools that students get injured or even killed. You see, we are painting a picture of this problem. And what are we doing? We are grabbing the attention of the reader. We want to show the reader that this topic is a very important one and that they should read it. It's a problem that affects almost everyone in the society. Because if you are not attending schools, you might have your children or your siblings or your parents or your uncles' children or anybody, but somehow someone whom you love attends schools. Now, some of the victims of bullying stop attending school owing to fear, while some are driven to the point of committing suicide as a result of depression. Look at that. Is that not a serious problem? So you begin the essay by talking about what it is about. Tell the reader why this topic is important and why you are writing about it, all right? And why they should read it in the first place. Then this is where you are now stating your thesis. I believe, you know, a thesis is always your opinion. I believe it is important to examine the factors responsible for bullying in schools in order to find ways of curbing, if not completely, stopping this social evil. You see? So you have actually given your thesis statement here, and your enumeration is also implied because you have specifically mentioned the things that you are going to talk about in the body of your composition. So that takes care of the first paragraph, which is your introduction. Now we are going to talk about these things that we have mentioned. We want to talk about the factors responsible for bullying in schools. And you can start it with a connective, or you can start it simply in this way. One of the major causes of bullying in schools is the inability of some parents to control their children. You see, this is your topic sentence. All right? CS, if you like. This is the topic sentence. Sorry about this. All right? This is your topic sentence. All right? This is your topic sentence. So you have mentioned the first factor responsible. And once you have stated your topic sentence, all other things you are going to say in this paragraph will be to support this idea you have already expressed. You are saying that the inability of some parents to control their children is the reason why there is bullying in schools. All right? Then let's now talk about this idea here. Some parents lack the moral strength to correct their children or ensure that they are well behaved. Some parents are bullies themselves. You see, you are taking a swipe at parents this time. Not all parents anyway, but some parents who fail to, you know, correct their children and ensure they are well behaved. You are saying that this is why some children are bullies at school, and that problem persists. Now we continue. In a home where the children frequently find their father hitting their mother or vice versa, what do you expect the children to learn? You see, you are raising a rhetorical question just to support the point you have raised. What you want to discuss in this composition is the factor. You want to outline and discuss the factors responsible for bullying in schools. And who doesn't want to actually examine the cause of something? Now, the importance of examining the causes of a social problem is that when you know the causes, then you'll be able to find the solutions. It's just like when someone is sick and you go to the doctor. What does the doctor do first? He will diagnose. That means he will examine you to find out exactly what are the symptoms or what are the causes, what are the factors responsible for your illness. Without doing that, the doctor cannot just start prescribing any treatment or any drug, because whatever treatment is going to prescribe will likely be wrong. He must find out the cause before he provides the solution. So it's logically, you know, it makes sense to always discuss the causes of a social problem. Okay, so let's continue. Of course, the copy these negative habits, and the school is the place where they can easily practice what they learned at home. So you have actually developed the point you raised here to a logical conclusion, and that is really very, very important in writing a composition. Okay, so let's now go to our next paragraph. And here we are going to discuss the second factor we believe is responsible for bullying in schools. And what do we say here? Another factor responsible for the rising incidence of bullying in schools is peer pressure, which in turn gives birth to bad company. You see? So you are now looking at the causes, and you are examining them with a view to finding out the solution. Now, this is our topic sentence. Don't forget, in a simple composition like this, it is good to start a paragraph with your topic sentence. Then you support your topic sentence with other sentences, which we call the supporting details, SD if you like. All right. The TS comes first, then followed by the DS. I mean by the SD, supporting details. TS, topic sentence, SD, supporting details. Well, take note of this. Now, another factor responsible for the rising incidence of bullying in schools is peer pressure, which in turn gives birth to bad company. Some well-behaved students suddenly turn into bullies the moment they become friends with another student who is already a bully. They ignorantly copy the negative habits of their new friend, and they are eventually initiated into the bullying practice. In some cases, the hardened bully leads his converted friends to attack his victims during break, in the classroom, in the field, on the school bus, and so forth. You see, sometimes you find a group of students going to attack another student. It could be that the one who is a bully and who became friends with some other people who now joined him in that habit, you know, he influences them, and they all agree due to peer pressure, and they can gang up and beat up another student. It often happens in schools. All right, so here you are painting a clear picture of how these things happen. All right, and you are saying that the factor responsible is this, so that when we are looking for the solution, then we will actually know what we are talking about. Then the next paragraph, which is our third factor or cause of bullying in school. Furthermore, the desire to control others is a major factor responsible for this antisocial behavior. You see, the desire to control others. Again, you can see that this is our TS, the desire to control others. That's the point we are raising here. That's the factor we are saying is responsible for bullying in schools, the desire to control others. Now, what do we want to talk about this, and how does this, you know, become a major factor responsible for this serious social evil? Now, let's discuss it. Obviously, the bullies are only putting in practice a prevailing attitude that is fast becoming the norm in our society. You are saying that this is an attitude that is prevailing in the society. People desire to control others. It's just happening in society, and the majority of people in our society have just, you know, adopted that attitude, and it's something we find them doing. So it is a societal evil, it's a societal ill that needs to be tackled head on. Now, just take a look at the police brutality against the defenseless citizen. You are making a point here. You know, it's a burning issue in our society. Police brutality is everywhere, in Nigeria, in America, in various parts of the world. And if you find the police brutalizing or acting brutally against the citizens, then of course, you know, when the students watch these things, they want to show authority, they want to demonstrate power and authority, they want to control others, just like these security agents. Take a look at the passion with which a soldier would pounce on a bloody civilian. You know, in our own society, soldiers call civilians bloody civilians, you know, so you put this in quotes just to emphasize that idea. You know, take a look at the passion with which a soldier would pounce on a bloody civilian, kick him or her into the gutter, hit their heads with a stick, a leather belt, or any available weapon. You see? Take a look at the verbal attacks our politicians hurl at their opponents, coupled with their tendency to unleash thugs at their opponents. You see, these are valid points. There are things happening in our society, leading to assassination in most cases. Of course, we are aware of many notable politicians who were assassinated by their political opponents. They sent hired assassins, and these people went and then they assassinated their targets. All right. Now, all these have helped to breed our younger bullies in schools who are simply following the footsteps of those whom they see as their role models in the society. So we are saying that this desire to control others, to show power and authority, you know, to tend to, you know, become brutal is something that is happening in the society. It's a prevailing situation, an unpleasant situation, which is in the society and needs to be addressed. So now, having discussed these factors responsible for bullying in schools, we want to devote a paragraph to talking about the solutions. And this is something that can be done, all right? Now here, we say, to solve the problem of bullying in schools, charity must begin at home in reality. You see, you are now, you are referring to a very popular saying that charity begins at home, all right? And that is also one very good way of, you know, expressing your idea in a composition. Parents must pay attention to the moral upbringing of their children. They must start by being well-behaved themselves and then ensure that their children imbibe the right moral values. You see, you have taken the first factor responsible and you have provided solution to it. You started this composition by saying that the some parents' inability to control their children is the reason why we have bullying in schools. So you are now saying that parents should address this issue. Okay. Then the next thing, school authorities should organize anti-bullying programs to discourage bullying. Remember, you know, peer pressure, keeping bad company among the students, you know, lead even some otherwise good students being initiated into the bullying practice. So if schools, you know, organize anti-bullying programs to sensitize and reorientate the students, that is a good way to solve the problem. They should also make sure that there is no compromise on discipline. All right, that's another way to solve the problem. Students found guilty of bullying should be severely punished to serve as a deterrent to others. All right. Then you are now going to address the other problem that emanates from the larger society. The government is in a right position to do something about this. Then you say government agencies like the Ministry of Information and the National Orientation Agency should constantly launch campaigns against bullying through public awareness and orientation programs, seminars, lectures, speeches, and speeches, if you like, on both the electronic and print media. So you have actually, profiled solutions. You have examined the factors responsible for this social evil, and then you have actually come up with some recommendations. And this is very important in writing a composition of this nature. Then the last paragraph takes care of our conclusion. And the best way is to say, in conclusion, one thing you must avoid, which is a mistake made by some students, is to write conclusively. No, conclusively is wrong in writing an essay. Conclusive has a different shade of meaning, but when you want to end an essay, especially in your concluding paragraph, you can say in conclusion, or you can say to sum up, all right? So we choose to say in conclusion, bullying in schools is a serious social evil, that should not be condoned in view of its numerous severe negative effects on both the individual students and on the entire school where it occurs. You are re-emphasizing your thesis. You started by showing that this is a serious problem, and you are restating the fact that this is a very serious issue that needs that action be taken to put a stop to it. All right? Then you now come up with your final statement. If we want to restore sanity to our schools, which every right-thinking person will actually want to happen, and raise the falling standard of education, you are actually referring to the fact that because of bullying in schools and other related problems, the standard of education has fallen because of the effects of these social problems. So you are talking about solving the problem. If we want to restore sanity to our schools and raise the falling standard of education, all hands must be on deck to ensure that this evil is eradicated from our schools. Full stop. All right. So this is a very, very simple way of writing a composition of this nature. Section B, which is the theory section, that is where we are taking our question for today's class. And that is from part A, which is letter writing and composition. We are going to take question 1B, and the question is, your uncle with whom you stayed during your primary school days treated you like his own child. Write a letter of appreciation to him, giving at least 2 ways he treated you like his child. Now, first of all, you need to ask yourself, what type of letter is this? There are 3 main types of letters. You have the formal letter, the informal letter, and the semi-formal letter. Now, how do you identify each type of letter? Now, let me give you the definitions, and then you will use the definitions to figure out whatever type of letter you have been asked to write in your English exam. Now, a formal letter is an official letter. It's a letter you write to someone who occupies an official position. For example, if you are asked to write a letter to the Commissioner for Education or to the governor, that is a formal letter. But in this case, you are asked to write a letter to your uncle. Now, this corresponds to the definition of an informal letter. An informal letter is a letter you write to someone with whom you share a personal relationship. Now, of course, you know you share a personal relationship with your uncle, and that is what this question is all about. So a semi-formal letter has a combination of formal and informal letter features, and we shall explain this in subsequent lessons. Now, suffice it to say that what we are looking at is an informal letter. Your uncle with whom you stayed during your primary school days treated you like his own child. Write a letter of appreciation to him, giving at least 2 ways he treated you like his child. Now, first of all, we are going to look at the features of an informal letter. Before you write a letter, you need to begin with your address. That is the writer's address. That's the first feature of every letter. So an informal letter contains the writer's address only. Now, after your address, you write the date of that letter. The day you are writing that letter, the date should be there. This will be followed by the salutation, all right? Now, this will be followed by the salutation. After the writer's address and the date, then comes the salutation. Now, in this case, you are asked to write a letter to your uncle, so the appropriate salutation will be dear uncle. If you're asked to write to your father, you can write dear father. If you're asked to write to your mother, you can write dear mother. If you're asked to write to your friend and the name is John, you can write dear John. If you're asked to write to your sister, you write dear sister. To your brother, dear brother, and so on and so forth. So that is the salutation. Now, the third item on among the features of an informal letter is the content of the letter, which can be subdivided into 3 parts. A, introduction, B, the body of the letter, and C, the conclusion. We shall be looking at this one by one. Now, after this, you have the subscription or closing. After the content, then you have the subscription or closing, which is, you know, yours sincerely can be appropriate for dear uncle. If you are writing to your mother, you can write yours affectionately, or as the case may be. But now that we are asked to write to our uncle, yours sincerely is appropriate. Now, after the closing, then you have the writer's first name. You simply write your first name and you put a full stop. All right, these are the features of an informal letter. All right, and then we shall be looking at the requirements. When you are given a question in any English exam, you need to analyze it and know exactly the requirements before you begin to write. So that is the next thing we shall be looking at right now. Now, let's look at the question once again. Your uncle with whom you stayed during your primary school days treated you like his own child. Write a letter of appreciation to him, giving at least 2 ways he treated you like his child. Now, the first thing is to identify what you are required to write. What are you required to write? It is simple. Are you required to write a story? No. Were you asked to write an article? No. Were you told to write a speech? No. What were you asked to write? A letter. Now, this is important because it is not really uncommon to find some students writing a letter without an address. I've come across it a number of times. while marking student scripts. As a teacher with many years of teaching experience, I can say categorically that it is important to emphasize this. You must know exactly what you have been asked to write. You don't just start writing, all right? And you need to understand that a letter has a definite structure, which is different from the structure of a story or the structure of an article or the structure of a speech. Now, one thing unique about a letter is that it begins with an address, all right? So take note of this. When you are asked to write a letter, you write a letter, all right? Now, the second thing to identify is to whom, all right? To whom are you going to write this letter? Of course, in this particular question, you are asked to write a letter to your uncle with whom you have stayed during your primary school days. So then at this point, we should be able to figure out, that this is an informal letter and not a formal one. An informal letter has only one address, and that is the writer's address, and it has no title. And then you also need to understand that there is a difference between the type of language you use in an informal letter, which is different from the kind of language you are expected to use in a formal letter. So at this point, you figure out the type of letter you are going to write so that you will organize it in the appropriate manner. Now, the next thing you must figure out is the purpose of the letter. For what purpose? Now, you have been asked to write a letter of appreciation, giving your uncle at least 2 ways he treated you like his child. So that is the purpose of the letter. And then in getting your content right, you need to draw an outline. This is very important. You need to draw an outline because an outline is a very, very important aspect of your preparation for any piece of writing. So we are going to look at how you can write an outline for this letter. You are asked to discuss at least 2 ways. So now the first one, you can talk about well, you can talk about making me feel at home or giving me a sense of belonging. Well, you can, this first point, the important thing is not what you write in your outline, but once you get a clear picture of the main idea you want to discuss. And then you can convert this idea into a topic sentence, which will be supported with the supporting details. Now here, you are saying that your uncle made you feel at home in his house, all right, gave you a sense of belonging. Now, there are a lot of things that you will put together, all right, to confirm that this is one major way in which he treated you like his own child. Of course, there are no fast and no hard and fast rules as to the idea you can discuss. It is up to you. Then the second one, you can talk about support. Well, you can talk about support for my schooling, all right? You can break it into two: financial, all right, and moral support. Okay, so in this case, you have two major points that you want to discuss. You want to discuss in this letter. The first one is, that your uncle welcomed you into his house joyfully or with joy, and, made you feel at home, gave you a sense of belonging, made you fit in as a member of the family without any discrimination. That's the point you are making in this first point. And then the second one is that he supported your schooling, both financially and morally. All right, so these are two major ways. Okay. Now back to our discussion here. Okay. So that is about the outline we have talked about. So drawing an outline is important. Then the next thing is, your use of language, which is expression, how well you express your ideas, your accurate use of mechanics or rules of written language, which is called mechanical accuracy. This also you have to consider or take into consideration. And once you have gotten a picture or the key ideas of how you are going to write this letter, then the next thing is to go ahead and write the letter. And so I'm going to show you how to write this letter. All right. Now you need to understand that a letter has a definite structure. And so we are going to begin with the address. You can use your house address if you like. For example, 20 Kano Street. Now, take note of the punctuation: 20, comma, Kano Street, comma, then Ojo, comma. Take note of the fact that the street, occupies a single line. The street number, the number and the street occupies a single line. Then the city or town, all right, occupies the second line. Then Lagos State occupies the third line. And this is where you put a full stop, since you are writing to your uncle who presumably lives within the country, because if he's living abroad, you should have been told specifically in that question that you are going to write to your uncle who is residing abroad. So once you are writing to someone within the country, then you can stop at the state address, and then you put a full stop after state. Now the next thing, so we have seen the street, the town or John, and then the state, full stop. Then the next is the date, 10th November, comma, 2021. Of course, you have to put a full stop after this, all right? So that's the way it is. Now, once you are through with the address and date, the next thing will be salutation. And since you are writing to your uncle, the appropriate salutation is "Dear Uncle," and then you put a comma. Now, some people make this mistake of trying to start the address, to start the salutation from, they give a space, they leave a space before starting, and probably they begin here to write dear. All right, this is not correct. It's absolutely incorrect. Now, this is the correct way to write your salutation. Begin right at the margin. After your address and date, the next line, you know, right at the left side margin of your answer sheet, you begin with dear uncle, then followed with a comma. Now, after that, you know, this is an informal letter, so it doesn't need a title or headline. Therefore, what comes next is the introductory paragraph. The first paragraph takes care of your introduction. There are two ways you can begin an informal letter. You may begin with with maybe exchange of pleasantries, if you like. Inquiring about the health or the welfare of the person you are writing to. Well, in an exam situation, because you are conscious of time and you want to manage your time, then you can be businesslike and use the direct method. In this case, you go straight into the purpose of your letter and you reserve your informal greetings till the end, the last paragraph. So let's start with this introductory paragraph. I am writing this letter to thank you for being an excellent and caring uncle during my stay with you in my primary school days. Now, this actually is what you have been asked to write. A letter of appreciation, which is a letter expressing your gratitude and thanking your uncle, all right? So now this is optional. You may leave out this letter if you like. You can simply say, I am writing to thank you for being an excellent and caring uncle during my stay with you in my primary school days. You need to understand that this is where creativity comes into play. There are 1,001 ways in which you can really, rephrase this idea. You can say, I am writing to appreciate, or I write to express my appreciation to you for, the kindness you showed me during my stay with you in my primary school days. There are no hard and fast rules as to how you must put it. Only you must come up with something that is acceptable, that is appropriate. Now, having stated this, then we go ahead to say, I want to sincerely appreciate you for treating me like your own child in all things throughout my stay with you. Now, don't forget that, you want to keep to what the examiner has instructed you to write. And it is important for you to include the keywords in that answer or writing prompt, if you like. Now, the idea of being treated like his own child must actually be incorporated into your content. And that is what we have done in this second sentence. I want to sincerely appreciate you for treating me like your own child in all things throughout my stay with you. Then the next one, I will give two specific instances of the numerous ways in which you treated me like your child. All right, so that actually is really, really important. Those keywords that featured in the question need to be incorporated here. So that is actually very, very important. In this case, you are saying that, your uncle treated you like his own child in so many ways, but you want to talk about two specific instances of those numerous ways. This is really, really proper, since the purpose of the letter is to show appreciation, to express your profound gratitude for his kindness. Now, we are through with the introductory paragraph. Now, beginning with paragraph 2, which is where the body of our letter begins, we are going to discuss point number 1, and we take this point from the outline we already created. In our outline, we came up with 2 ideas, 2 key points. The first one is to talk about how your uncle received you joyfully into his family and made you feel at home, and then you give supporting details to, really drive the message home. And then the second one is the support he gave to you in your schooling, both financially and morally. All right, let's begin with the first one. And don't forget that in writing, you discuss one main point in one paragraph. You discuss another main point in another paragraph. So in paragraph 2, we start with key point number 1. To start with, you received me joyfully into your family and made me feel at home like every other member of your household. Now, this is the topic sentence. This is what we call the topic sentence. Now, a topic sentence is a sentence that contains the main idea in a paragraph. And it is a simple method when you start the paragraph with the topic sentence, then all other sentences that we follow will be used to support the point you have raised in that first sentence. So you can see our topic sentence here to start with, and then it's good to use a connective. All right, instead of maybe saying first of all or firstly, all right, you can say to start with, all right, so which is acceptable. To start with, you received me joyfully into your family and made me feel at home like every other member of your household. How did he do this? Now let's explain. These are supporting details that I am going to read out right now. You introduced me as your daughter to members of your family and emphasized that all your children should see me as their own sister. All right? So that's one major thing he did first, which showed that he treated you like his own child. Thereafter, you made sure that I had access to all the things provided to your own children, including food, drinks, clothes, and so forth. All right? So he went ahead to put his declaration into action and actually made you feel as a full part of that household. In this way, he treated you as his own child. All right? Now, let's go to the second paragraph. I mean, the third paragraph, but the second point that we are discussing in this letter. Furthermore, you gave me both the financial and moral support that I needed for my schooling throughout the period. You see, this is another topic sentence, and you use it to start a new paragraph. And once you have stated your topic sentence, Then you will write other related sentences, other sentences containing related ideas, ideas that will give support, that will support the main or key point you mentioned in your topic sentence. Now let's take a second look at our topic sentence. Furthermore, you gave me both the financial and moral support that I needed for my schooling throughout the period. How did he do that? Now listen to the supporting details. I was never sent home for non-payment or late payment of school fees because you made sure that my school fees were paid on time. You see, that is one area in which he supported you, and this was his financial support. You bought me all the books needed for my classwork, and these helped me to participate effectively in all the lessons taught in class. This was another financial support. He bought the books needed for you to do your classwork effectively. Above all, you took time out of your very busy schedule to sit with me and ensure that I did all my homework. This was the aspect of his moral support. Apart from paying your school fees, buying books for you, he also sat with you and helped you to ensure you did all your homework. Well, what can anyone ask? What more can anyone ask for from a father? All right. So in this way, you have given a picture of the fact that he treated you like his own child. Then the next paragraph will be our concluding paragraph. Don't forget that the content of your letter is made up of 3 parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Our introduction is the first paragraph where we actually presented the purpose of the letter. And then in paragraphs 2 and 3, which make up the body of our letter, we discuss the 2 ways in which, you know, your uncle treated you like his own child. Then this next paragraph is our conclusion. We want to summarize or to sum up what we have said. All right? Now, and this is how you can do it. In conclusion, I will forever remain grateful to you for the good moral values I learned from you, especially those of love and compassion for others. You see, you have summarized this in a very, very philosophical manner. Now, you are saying that your uncle showed you kindness, you know, practically. And by doing that, he has also taught you moral values. In other words, he taught by example. The way he treated you has taught you a lesson on how to show love and compassion for others. All right. So you are saying that you remain grateful to him, not only because of those physical benefits that he gave to you, but even much more for these moral or spiritual values that he helped you to imbibe as well. So this is a very brilliant way to conclude your letter of appreciation. And then, having done that, you can now come up with extending your greetings to other members of the family. And you can do it in a very simple manner. For example, give my warm regards to Mommy Olu Titi, and Bosse. Of course, you could address his wife as your aunt, or you could even say, extend my greetings to your wife and your children. But in this case, you want to show that your stay with them actually has transformed you into a real member of that family, to the extent that you see his wife, you call her mommy, all right? And then others whom you see as your brothers and sisters, you can address them as by their first name, all right? So that is acceptable. But at this juncture, you may ask, if you could address the wife as mommy, then why couldn't you address him as in your salutation? Why couldn't you write, dear father? Well, the explanation is simple. You don't want to violate anything. You don't want to actually disobey the instruction of the examiner. You were asked to write a letter of appreciation to your uncle, not to your father. So to that extent, it is proper for you to begin with the appropriate salutation, dear uncle, all right? So, but here you are extending regards, all right? And it doesn't really matter whose name you mention at this point, okay? Or the kind of pet name or the kind of name you mentioned. But the important thing is that you are extending your regards to members of the family. And once you have done this, then the last part of your letter will be the subscription and the writer's name. The appropriate subscription when writing to your uncle is yours sincerely. There are 2 points you must take note of. And the first one is that yours begins with the capital letter Y and sincerely begins with the small letter S. Take note of this. Very, very important. Then the third thing you must take note of here is that it must be followed with a comma. Yours sincerely, then comma. Now, the last thing here is your first name and a full stop. If your name is Fumi, you simply write Fumi and put a full stop. If your name is Mary, you write Mary and put a full stop, all right? So that is how to write this kind of letter. And this is where we are going to draw the curtain in today's video. Many thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward to always seeing you in the new video.